The WNBA is facing a crisis like never before, and insiders say the numbers tell a shocking story. Ratings for games have reportedly plummeted to levels some describe as all-time awful, leaving league executives scrambling for answers. While the league has grown in talent, skill, and star power, viewership has failed to match expectations, creating a massive ripple effect that impacts advertising, sponsorship, and long-term revenue projections. Sources close to the WNBA suggest that this decline in ratings has seriously weakened the players' union's position in negotiations over the collective bargaining agreement, CBA, stripping them of leverage they previously relied on. With free agency deals, salary structures, and league policies all hanging in the balance, the stakes have never been higher. Industry insiders indicate that declining TV and streaming numbers are forcing both the league and players to reconsider strategies. Teams are reportedly adjusting promotional efforts, marketing campaigns, and game schedules in a desperate attempt to recapture fan attention. Meanwhile, the Players' Union is reportedly feeling pressure in CBA discussions, as ratings-driven revenue shortfalls weaken their negotiating power. Sources suggest that some players are frustrated, feeling that the league's missteps could directly affect their salaries, benefits, and long-term opportunities. Social media has amplified the drama, with fans openly criticizing the league's decisions, questioning the marketing approach, and debating whether star players are being given enough visibility. Analysts are dissecting trends, comparing viewership stats to past seasons, and warning that without immediate action, the WNBA could face long-term financial and reputational damage. The union's loss of leverage in CBA negotiations is now a central talking point, raising concerns about whether players can secure favorable contracts, benefits, and protections in an environment where fan engagement is declining. The story isn't just about numbers, it's about power, influence, and survival. With ratings dropping and union leverage shrinking, the league faces unprecedented challenges, and players are learning firsthand how fragile negotiating power can become when external factors like viewership and revenue shift dramatically. Every decision in the coming months could redefine the WNBA's future, impacting not only salaries and contracts but the league's credibility, growth, and ability to attract top talent. In the next few minutes, we'll break down how the ratings collapse is reshaping CBA negotiations, reveal what insiders say about the union's weakened position, and explore what this could mean for the WNBA's stars, teams, and the future of women's professional basketball. This is a story with massive consequences, and it's just getting started. The WNBA is facing a storm that insiders are calling unprecedented, and the numbers are leaving league executives and players stunned. Ratings across television and streaming platforms have reportedly dropped to levels that many describe as all-time awful, sending shockwaves through boardrooms and locker rooms alike. Sources suggest that the decline isn't tied to talent. On the court, the league boasts some of the most skilled, dynamic, and marketable players in sports today, but rather to a combination of marketing missteps, inconsistent scheduling, and challenges in capturing mainstream attention. For the Players' Union, this downturn could not have come at a worse time. Negotiations for the collective bargaining agreement, CBA, are already high stakes, and declining revenue and viewership are reportedly weakening the union's leverage in ways insiders say could have lasting effects on salaries, benefits, and contract structures. According to insiders, the league's ratings drop has created a domino effect that touches every level of the WNBA ecosystem. Teams are said to be scrambling to adjust strategies, from promotional campaigns to broadcast schedules, in hopes of reversing the trend. Sponsorship deals and advertising revenue are reportedly being re-evaluated, and executives are facing pressure from stakeholders to explain why growth hasn't kept pace with the league's talent and achievements. Sources close to union leadership indicate that this financial squeeze has translated directly into negotiating disadvantages in CBA discussions. Where the Players' Union previously held strong leverage to demand better pay structures, improved benefits, and expanded revenue sharing, declining ratings have reportedly shifted the balance of power toward the league's management, leaving players concerned about their long-term earning potential. The social media reaction has been intense, amplifying scrutiny on both the league and the union. Fans are openly criticizing broadcast quality, game promotion, and the visibility of star athletes, while analysts dissect every possible factor contributing to declining ratings. Some commentators suggest that poor timing, inadequate advertising, and lack of primetime slots have made it difficult for even high-profile games to attract large audiences. Others point to the rise of alternative entertainment options, streaming fragmentation, and competition from other sports as factors that the league may have underestimated. The narrative has shifted from celebration of elite women's basketball to a cautionary tale about the fragility of viewership and the high stakes of CBA negotiations when revenue projections fall short. Sources indicate that players are feeling the pressure acutely. For many, union negotiations aren't just a formality. They determine annual income, benefits, travel accommodations, and the long-term structure of their careers. Reports suggest that some high-profile players are frustrated, feeling that their on-court excellence is not translating into financial security or influence in league decision-making. The union, in turn, is reportedly scrambling to adapt strategies to maintain bargaining power despite the shrinking ratings. Insider accounts suggest that this is a delicate balancing act. Pushing too hard could alienate league executives, while too much compromise could permanently reduce player leverage. Every meeting, contract proposal, and negotiation session carries heightened significance, and the stakes have never been higher. By the end of Part 1, it's clear that the WNBA is navigating a complex web of challenges that extend beyond talent and performance. Declining ratings, reduced revenue, and a weakened union bargaining position have created a perfect storm, putting both players and the league under intense scrutiny. The story isn't just about numbers, it's about influence, power, and the high-stakes struggle to define the future of women's professional basketball. Fans, analysts, and insiders are watching closely, knowing that the outcomes of these negotiations could reshape salaries, contracts, and the league's credibility for years to come. The next phase of this saga promises even more drama, strategic maneuvering, and high-stakes decisions that could determine who wins, who loses, and what the WNBA will look like in the seasons ahead. As the ratings decline became impossible to ignore, insiders say the tension behind the scenes reached a boiling point. Sources indicate that league executives were scrambling to understand the reasons for the drop while simultaneously trying to minimize damage to sponsorship deals and broadcast commitments. The WNBA Players Union, meanwhile, reportedly found itself in an unexpectedly vulnerable position. Negotiations for the collective bargaining agreement had previously relied on the players' ability to leverage viewership and revenue potential to demand better pay, travel accommodations, and long-term benefits. Now, with numbers falling and public confidence shaken, union representatives were reportedly forced to rethink their approach, balancing aggression with caution. Every decision in these negotiations carried massive consequences, not just for individual salaries but for the league's long-term stability and credibility. According to sources, the players themselves are feeling the pressure like never before. Many stars who have dominated on the court reportedly expressed frustration that their performances were not translating into the leverage they expected off the court. Insiders say that some players were concerned that missed opportunities, whether poor marketing, low visibility, or scheduling conflicts, were directly contributing to the union's weakened bargaining power. Reports suggest that internal discussions became tense, with some union leaders pushing for more assertive strategies while others cautioned against moves that could further destabilize negotiations. The dynamic created a perfect storm of stress and urgency, and it became clear that this CBA cycle would be unlike any other in the league's history. Social media amplified the crisis dramatically. Fans and analysts dissected every ratings report, criticizing the league's promotion strategies and questioning the union's ability to protect its members. Insider leaks about union meetings and executive strategy fueled speculation, turning the negotiation process into a highly public spectacle. Analysts highlighted patterns in declining viewership, noting that even marquee matchups failed to attract expected numbers, and questioned whether the league's current marketing model was sustainable. Players reportedly watched these discussions closely, knowing that public perception could influence both the league's revenue projections and the outcomes of CBA negotiations. Stewart, Bird, Wilson, and other star players were reportedly at the center of discussions, their careers and influence tied directly to the decisions being made in these high-pressure rooms. Sources reveal that one of the biggest challenges was the conflict between immediate versus long-term strategy. Executives wanted to stabilize ratings quickly to protect ad revenue and sponsorships, while the union had to consider how compromises now could affect contracts, benefits, and player protections for years to come. Insider accounts suggest that this conflict created multiple points of friction, with negotiations stretching longer and becoming more complicated than previous CBA cycles. Every conversation, every concession, and every demand had to be carefully weighed, because any misstep could weaken the players' negotiating position further or create public backlash. The stakes were enormous, and it became clear that navigating this period successfully required both tactical precision and a deep understanding of the league's business dynamics. By the end of Part 2, it was clear that the WNBA was at a critical crossroads. Ratings declines, weakened union leverage, and public scrutiny had combined to create a perfect storm that could reshape the league for years. Players, executives, and fans were all watching closely, understanding that the decisions made during this period would have long-lasting consequences. For the union, the challenge was not just protecting salaries or benefits, but also preserving credibility, influence, and the long-term health of the league. For the players, the task was about maintaining control over their careers in an environment where external factors like ratings and revenue had suddenly become central to their leverage. The drama was far from over, and the next wave of developments promised even more tension, high-stakes decisions, and unexpected twists. The tension inside the league escalated as players and executives alike struggled to respond to plummeting ratings. Sources indicate that star athletes were growing increasingly frustrated, realizing that their hard work on the court wasn't translating into the visibility or leverage they had expected. Negotiations over the collective bargaining agreement became a delicate dance, with the players' union attempting to protect salaries, benefits, and long-term contract rights despite weakened leverage. Some union representatives reportedly pushed for bold, confrontational strategies, while others warned that a misstep could further erode their negotiating position. Every decision, from concessions to public statements, was being weighed carefully because the stakes extended far beyond individual contracts. This was about the credibility and future growth of the entire league. Insiders say the crisis was compounded by uneven promotion and inconsistent scheduling, which made it difficult for even marquee games to draw attention. Fans expressed outrage on social media, criticizing both the league and the union, while analysts dissected viewership data and broadcast decisions. Some reports indicated that the union felt caught between protecting its members and maintaining a cooperative relationship with league management, creating a tense and high-pressure environment behind closed doors. Players reportedly debated how much public pressure to exert, knowing that visibility could influence negotiations but also potentially alienate executives if mismanaged. The combination of low ratings, declining influence, and intense scrutiny created an unprecedented situation in professional women's basketball. While executives scrambled to adjust marketing strategies and sponsorship arrangements, players focused on long-term implications for their careers. Top athletes were reportedly analyzing not just immediate contract offers but also future opportunities, endorsements, and potential team stability. Some feared that weakened union leverage could set a precedent that would affect rookie contracts, free agency negotiations, and player protections for years to come. Reports indicate that this concern was particularly pronounced among players with significant fan followings, who understood that their personal brand and earning potential were tied directly to league visibility. Every misstep by the union or the league could have a ripple effect, reducing opportunities for players across the board. According to insiders, some of the most high-profile players began taking proactive steps to secure their own leverage. This reportedly included privately engaging with team executives, exploring independent sponsorship opportunities, and even coordinating with media outlets to boost visibility. The goal, sources say, was to counteract the negative impact of low ratings and strengthen the union's bargaining position. Meanwhile, players who were less proactive reportedly faced increased risk, as declining viewership translated into reduced influence over negotiations and less favorable contract conditions. The contrast between proactive and reactive approaches became a major topic of discussion both inside and outside the league, highlighting the importance of strategic thinking in times of crisis. By the time the situation reached a critical point, it was clear that the WNBA faced a crossroads. Declining ratings, weakened union leverage, and heightened public scrutiny combined to create a pressure cooker environment where every decision carried long-term consequences. Players, executives, and analysts alike recognized that the outcome of the CBA negotiations would not only determine immediate salaries and benefits but also influence the league's credibility, growth trajectory, and competitive balance for years to come. Fans watched closely, knowing that each move could reshape the league's landscape. In this high-stakes environment, strategy, visibility, and foresight became as crucial as talent and athletic performance, defining who would emerge empowered and who would risk losing ground in the years ahead. As negotiations dragged on, the WNBA found itself under intense scrutiny from multiple angles. Sources indicate that declining ratings had triggered a cascade of challenges. Sponsors were re-evaluating commitments, networks were questioning broadcast deals, and players worried about the long-term impact on salaries and benefits. Inside the league, executives reportedly held emergency meetings to explore creative strategies for boosting visibility, from primetime game slots to targeted social media campaigns. Meanwhile, Union representatives were working overtime to assess their negotiating position, attempting to leverage limited opportunities to secure meaningful protections for players. The stakes were immense, and every decision carried repercussions for both current contracts and the league's future stability. Industry insiders suggest that some of the pressure stemmed from a disconnect between league management and player priorities. Executives were reportedly focused on short-term solutions to ratings and revenue declines, while players were increasingly concerned with the long-term implications of concessions made in the CBA. This misalignment reportedly led to tense discussions behind closed doors, as union leaders attempted to balance advocacy for immediate salary guarantees with the need to protect future earning potential. The dynamic created friction, forcing both sides to carefully consider every negotiation tactic, public statement, and proposed compromise. The intensity of these discussions underscored just how precarious the situation had become. The players themselves were reportedly experiencing unprecedented stress. Some top stars, who had previously relied on union leverage and league visibility to negotiate favorable deals, were now finding themselves in a position of vulnerability. Sources indicate that internal meetings focused on contingency planning, with athletes discussing potential strategies to maximize personal visibility, secure endorsements, or influence public opinion in support of their bargaining position. Social media became both a tool and a risk, as fans scrutinized every update, and insider leaks made negotiations increasingly public. The balance between strategy and perception became critical. One misstep could weaken leverage, while calculated moves could shift the balance back in the union's favor. Reports suggest that league executives were also exploring alternative methods to stabilize viewership. These included high-profile events, increased marketing of star athletes, and collaboration with influencers to expand the fan base. Despite these efforts, sources claim the union remained cautious, emphasizing that ratings alone should not dictate player compensation or benefits. Tensions reportedly spiked during private negotiation sessions, with both sides attempting to reconcile the financial realities of declining revenue with the union's responsibility to protect players' long-term interests. The negotiations, insiders say, became as much about perception and strategy as about hard numbers, with every decision amplified by the public scrutiny. By this stage, it became clear that the WNBA was facing a pivotal moment. Declining ratings, reduced union leverage, and heightened public attention had created a perfect storm, testing the resilience and strategy of both players and executives. The outcome of the CBA negotiations promised to shape not only immediate contracts but also the trajectory of the league for years to come. Every player, sponsor, and media partner was now acutely aware that missteps could have lasting consequences, and strategic thinking was more critical than ever. As the drama continued to unfold, insiders predicted that bold, decisive moves would define the next chapter of the WNBA, determining who maintained influence, who gained advantage, and who risked losing ground in a league increasingly defined by visibility, revenue, and negotiation power. As the negotiations reached their critical phase, the stakes in the WNBA had never been higher. Insiders report that the league's declining ratings had become a central factor, creating pressure not only on the players' union but also on individual athletes who had invested years in building their careers and fan followings. For many top players, the concern was clear. If leverage continued to erode, the long-term impact on contracts, benefits, and career opportunities could be significant. Sources indicate that union leaders were forced to weigh every decision carefully, balancing the immediate need to secure favorable terms with the broader goal of protecting players' influence over the league. Every concession, every negotiation tactic, and every public statement was scrutinized, because the margin for error had shrunk dramatically. Reports suggest that tensions within the union were rising as well. Some players reportedly pushed for aggressive action, demanding that declining viewership should not be used as a bargaining chip to reduce salaries or benefits. Others advocated for a more measured approach, emphasizing the importance of long-term strategy over short-term conflict. Sources indicate that these internal discussions were intense and sometimes heated, reflecting the high-pressure environment in which the union now operated. With so much at stake, even small missteps could create ripple effects, affecting both individual contracts and the broader perception of the union's strength. Players had to navigate the delicate balance between protecting their interests and maintaining credibility with the league. Behind the scenes, executives were reportedly recalibrating strategies as well. With ratings remaining stubbornly low, league leadership explored creative approaches to attract viewers, including high-profile promotional campaigns, enhanced media coverage of star players, and innovative digital engagement strategies. Sources suggest that these moves were aimed not only at stabilizing revenue but also at influencing the perception of players' value in the context of CBA negotiations. The interplay between marketing strategy and union leverage created a high-stakes chess game, where both sides were trying to maximize advantage without alienating the other. Analysts suggest that this dynamic underscores the complexity of professional sports negotiations, where visibility, revenue, and perception can be as influential as raw performance statistics. Social media continued to amplify every development, putting additional pressure on both players and executives. Fans and commentators dissected leaks, rumors, and insider reports, turning the negotiations into a highly public spectacle. Sources indicate that some players were strategically engaging with social media to bolster visibility and strengthen leverage, while others struggled to manage the narrative, risking public criticism or misinterpretation. The public nature of the negotiations reportedly added an extra layer of urgency, as every statement, tweet, or interview could influence both fan perception and league decision-making. For the union, maintaining a coherent strategy under such scrutiny was critical, as any sign of weakness could be magnified and exploited in ongoing discussions. By the conclusion of this intense period, the WNBA had entered a new era defined by strategic awareness, negotiation complexity, and the interplay between visibility and leverage. Declining ratings had tested both the league and the players' union, highlighting the fragility of negotiating power and the critical importance of careful planning. Sources report that while some players were able to protect their interests and maintain influence, others experienced setbacks that may have long-term consequences for contracts, endorsements, and career trajectory. For the league as a whole, the experience underscored the importance of fan engagement, marketing strategy, and clear communication with players. As fans and analysts look ahead, the lessons from this period promise to shape the WNBA for years to come, illustrating how talent, strategy, and influence must intersect for both athletes and executives to succeed in an increasingly competitive and scrutinized environment. The WNBA is at a crossroads, and the fallout from declining ratings and weakened union leverage has changed the game forever. Players, executives, and fans are all watching closely, knowing that the decisions made during this period will shape salaries, contracts, and the league's future for years to come. If you want to stay ahead of the drama, understand which players are fighting for influence, and see how the league plans to recover, you cannot miss a single update. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you're the first to know every shocking development as it unfolds. From behind-the-scenes negotiations to star players asserting their power, the WNBA is proving that success isn't just about talent on the court, it's about strategy, visibility, and leverage. Stay tuned, because the next chapter promises even more surprises, drama, and high-stakes moves that could redefine women's basketball forever.